rather than nothing? Why is anything in motion? Joshua, that was what we were talking about. Why do we not have a dead universe? Why is anything in motion rather than everything still? Why is there order rather than chaos? Why is there life rather than deadness? And then my favorite, why is there music? Have you ever thought about that? Study the reality and the order of music and the tones. Where did that come from? Can you think of that evolving? How did that happen? Oh, the heavens declare the glory of God. So the cosmos reveals two choices to us. When we look at this box, this cosmos, there are only two things that it can do. One is that it can reveal to us that there is a creator. There is a transcendent creator who has created the cosmos, or it created itself from nothing. Now, what we're doing here is we are turning our attention to this aspect of God's revelation, that God created the cosmos, that He acts within the cosmos, and that He has revealed Himself. Remember our two presuppositions? What were they? That God exists, and two,
He has revealed Himself.
That He has revealed Himself to us. How has He revealed Himself, Grant?
Through His Word.
Through His Word. And that is what we call special revelation. The special revelation of God revealed to us through His Word. But He's also revealed to us, Psalm 19 says, how? And Romans 1 says, how?
Through creation.
Through His creation, which we call general revelation. So through His Word, which we call special revelation, and through His cosmos, that the cosmos reveals itself to us, what we call general revelation. And that is what we're going to turn our attention to look at this general revelation of God that Romans 1 is talking to us about, that the heavens declare the glory of God, and we can listen to it, and it is a valid source of truth, because Romans 1 says it is plain to us. Now, when you begin to look at the cosmos from this perspective, and you know that you're now dealing with some serious issues associated with the fact that the cosmos, everything in it appears to say it had a beginning and it came from nothing, that poses a deep problem for me. There's only one element that will help you kind of wash away the stark reality of that. Wald said, time is the hero of the plot here. What we regard as impossible on the basis of human experience is meaningless here. Given so much time, the impossible becomes possible. What is he saying? That when you look inside the box and you see the enormity of the complexity of the order and the grandeur and everything that is in it, how in the world are you going to reconcile within your mind that this just came from nothing? Wald says, well, the great magic wand here is time. Billions and billions of years, and somewhere in the midst of saying billions and billions of years, somehow, Wald says, the impossible becomes possible. And we will see that kind of hand-waving going on and on. So, we're dealing with a battle here. We really are. We're dealing with a battle over what it is that we really see. What do we hear? Now, if you recall, we began by looking at an instance of hollow and deceptive philosophy Colossians 2:8 says, see to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy. And we took a look at that time at the opening segment of Carl Sagan's The Cosmos. And what I want to do is revisit another clip that you didn't see. So now that you are beginning to develop this discernment, listen to Carl Sagan.
I believe our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos in which we float like a mote of dust.
We wish to pursue the truth no matter where it leads. But to find the truth, we need imagination and skepticism both. We will not be afraid to speculate, but we will be careful to distinguish speculation from fact.
Now, what did you hear? What was the first thing you heard?
We'll follow the truth wherever it leads.
Here it is. Our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos. Well, of course it is. If there is no God, then we're dependent. Our whole future is dependent upon the stuff in the box, is it not? And how well we understand what's in the box. And then what did he say?
We'll follow the truth wherever it leads.
We're going to follow the truth wherever it leads. He said, we wish to pursue the truth no matter where it leads. That's kind of like saying we're going to take the intellectual high ground here. But you know what? This is a dishonest statement. Because if that truth leads to the reality of a transcendent creator, we will ignore it. So when he says we wish to pursue the truth no matter where it leads, no, that's not true. And then he says something interesting. But to find the truth, here's a scientist, but to find the truth, we need imagination and skepticism. And we're going to see a lot of imagination as we begin to take a look at what happens when men look into the box and stare upon the work of God and attempt to deny it. And then finally he says, we will not be afraid to speculate, but we will be careful to distinguish speculation from fact. Well, we're going to see if that is the case. What is plain? If God says it is plain, then what is plain? Now, first of all, let's make sure we understand what we mean by science. Let's look at Oxford's definition. It is the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Good. What it means is we're going to systematically study and look at the stuff in the box. Now, that then means that science and philosophy are therefore very closely linked. What is philosophy trying to do? It's trying to develop truth claims about reality. Remember, philosophy was seeking to understand ultimate reality. Philosophy is trying to develop truth claims for those large universal questions. Why am I here? What's the meaning of life? Science is trying to develop the truth claims about the particulars in the box. So they're both seeking reality, but they're both seeking to make truth claims about that reality. We've already seen what happened in philosophy when we shut ourselves off from the source of ultimate truth and the universal truths as God has given to us. We're going to see the same thing in this realm. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a great deal of marvelous and wonderful science that is going on today around us. But what we're going to find is the thing that has happened is that science, in many cases, has moved back into a philosophical mode and now is attempting, as the philosophers of old have attempted to do, and as we saw over and over again, came up to that big gap. In many cases, science is now trying to profess to us philosophical statements from the particulars in the box. Where do we come from? Why are we here? What's the meaning of life? And that is what we need to focus on and where we'll be heading. Kepler in looking at this grandeur that God had given to us, said the chief aim of all investigations of the external world should be to discover the rational order and harmony which has been imposed on it by God. Is that the chief aim of our scientific investigation today? No, if your worldview begins with God is not. You may say that we will follow the truth no matter where it leads, but if it leads back to Him, we'll cut it off immediately and ignore it and deny it. Kepler said, no, the chief aim is to discover the work of His hands. You may not know this, but quite frankly, the vast majority of the early scientists had this perspective. Dr. Stephen Meyer will address that.
The earliest scientists, whether it was Sir Isaac Newton or Robert Boyle or before him Johannes Kepler, Galileo, many of those scientists were very strongly committed to the idea of the existence of God and to Christianity in many cases. They were, moreover, convinced that the universe bore evidence of design and that it was therefore intelligible to the human intellect. In fact, the idea of design was one of the inspirations for the scientific revolution, because the conviction that we could study nature and make sense of it derived from that idea that it was the product of a rational intellect. And if a rational intellect had created nature, had given it order, had given it its so-called laws, then it became possible for us to make sense of that order.
What he's talking about is that if the box really is a random, chaotic box, then we would have no reason to study it. It's the whole issue, dealing with the difference between something which has been designed and something which is truly random. Now, let's suppose that I asked you to write a 100-page thesis paper on those numbers. Would you look forward to that? Charlene, you don't think you'd look forward to that?
No.
Why not?
I'm bad with numbers.
Why would it not be something that you would really look forward to, writing 100 pages on those random numbers?
That makes sense.
There's nothing there. Why? That is what randomness means. Randomness means that there is nothing intelligent here. It is purely random, purely chance. Now, the problem is that there is a lot of order there already. Well, what I'd like for you to do is take a look at a clip from an incredible video that has been produced, and one that I think you will find fascinating. We're going to look at several clips of it today. Unlocking the Mysteries of Life. And they're talking about this issue of chance and order. Let's look at it.
By the 1970s, most researchers had rejected the idea that the information necessary to build the first cell originated by chance alone. To understand why, consider the difficulty of generating just 2 lines of Shakespeare's play Hamlet by dropping Scrabble letters onto a tabletop. Then consider that the specific genetic instructions required to build the proteins in even the simplest one-celled organism would fill hundreds of pages of printed text.
Now, it's a short clip, but it's saying an awful lot there. Think about how long it would take for you to drop Scrabble letters on a table simply to come up with those 2 lines from Shakespeare. How long do you suppose it would take? Ashley, how long do you think it'd take you to drop letters on a table to finally get there?
I'd be gone before it happened.
You'd be gone. I think you're probably right. But do you know what? That example presupposes something. It presupposes that there are Scrabble letters with letters on it, does it not? The way we really should look at this is that you have someone over in an earlier table with blank Scrabble squares and a paintbrush flicking paint on those squares trying to get a letter. How long would it take, Ashley, to sprinkle ink on these letters until you finally get one letter?
A long time.
We would all be gone for sure. And then you finally get one letter, and that goes over to the table that we're going to finally build our letters of Scrabble letters that we're going to drop on the table to get 2 lines of Shakespeare. Do you understand that this is one of the fundamental issues that is becoming a difficult question to answer, and that is, where does this organized information come from? The impossibility of that is what Wald says, well, yeah, I know it's impossible, but just mix in enough time and it all becomes possible. It's like the magic wand. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. Well, what do we really hear when we look at the cosmos, when we really listen to it? What is it that it says to us? Several years ago, a man by the name of David Breese wrote a book entitled 7 Men Who Rule the World from the Grave. His list includes 7. We could add some more. But the point he's making is that this is what happens when men can change our world.